God, open our eyes to see, our ears to hear, our hearts to love. Amen. This month, this September, we are marking Interfaith September. And most of the reflection time today is going to be taken up with 3 short videos, but there are some things I want to say first. This afternoon, after more than 11 years, Stephanie Dowrick and the Interfaith Sydney community will be holding their last monthly service at Pitt Street. Over these 11 plus years, there has been cross-pollination between our congregation and Interfaith. For some who are here in our community, Interfaith was a step through the door into engagement with the religious community. Jolien Bromley and Ruth Lambert have been bridges between the 2 congregations, and there have been others who have been involved regularly too. Jolien in particular has played a huge role in preparing the space for Interfaith each month and in leading services. Our treasurers and office secretaries have supported the work of Interfaith. Ian Pearson, who's the minister who was here before me, will be speaking at the service this afternoon, and he and I will both do readings. It was Ian's conversations with Stephanie that initiated this relationship. In talking with people on the worship team about our celebration of Interfaith September, Liz Watson spoke to me about the conversations that took place in the congregation at the time that Interfaith began. Conversations about the relationship of Christian churches with other faiths. A workshop was held titled, "Taking Religious Pluralism Seriously, What Might This Mean for Pitt Street?" And material was shared from Marcus Borg's book, The Heart of Christianity. Borg believed that religious pluralism in our society creates the imperative for understanding other religions and the people who practice them. But more than this, he went on to claim that understanding other enduring religions will enrich our understanding of Christianity and what it means to be Christian. Religious pluralism can help us see our own tradition better. Borg advocated a response to other faiths that does not claim exclusivity for one, but instead understands all religions sacramentally. As sacraments, the religions are not absolute. Rather, they are finite ways of mediating the sacred, the real. For Borg, religions are seen as human creations, imaginative human constructions, created in response to the experiences that people have of the sacred, in particular cultures where each tradition comes into being. He said that religions create worldviews. To be part of a religion is to live within the cultural, linguistic world created by that religion. Its scriptures, stories, vision, rituals, practices, its very ethos. He says that the enduring religions of the world are wisdom traditions. Wisdom addresses what is the real, the sacred, and it seeks a way to live in response to that. Religions are aesthetic traditions. All the enduring religions have valued and created beauty, which mediates the sacred. And I thank the Pitt Street singers for mediating the sacred in beautiful music for us today. Religions are communities of practice. All provide practical means for living the religious life, the thin places and practices of worship, prayer, deeds of compassion, and more specific spiritual practices. And his final point was that religions are communities of transformation, from an old way to a new way of being, and the transformation of the world through compassion. At the workshop, participants then discussed a number of questions relating to the establishment of an interfaith service at Pitt Street, and it went ahead and it endured for 11 years. Now, there seems to be little controversy about hosting such a service. Some have experienced interfaith as an opportunity to learn more about other faith traditions. There are still some concerns about dabbling for others. And I have heard an expression of a desire to engage more with people who are deeply grounded in one particular faith that is different than our own. The Interfaith Youth Corps model speaks to us now after many years of dialogue between faiths, inviting us to think about how we can work together with people of other faiths in transforming our world. While Stephanie's Interfaith Sydney services are coming to an end, there are other interfaith ministers in Sydney, also ordained through the One Spirit Seminary in New York, and they are interested in new expressions of interfaith. The Uniting Church Assembly and the Synod of New South Wales and the ACT have certainly encouraged and fostered deep engagement with other faiths. So we are now going to watch 3 short videos. 2 are from the Assembly resources from Interfaith September in 2015, and 1 is a recent news clip from ABC News.
When we start relation with the United Churches in 1992, we used to pray in a garage in George Street in Parramatta until I met Father Alan Jackson. He's such a nice person, and we were very happy with him, and he invited us to pray in the church in Katrina Hall, because he knew how much we're suffering, we have no place in Parramatta, and he said, would you like to use the church? And we said yes. So we started praying in the church in 1992.
If you think that it happened 23 years ago, that was a huge thing for a Christian church to open their doors or open their sacred space for another faith. But I also look at it from the other side, that it is also a graceful thing for the Muslim community to come and ask for that space. So it also says about their openness, their broad-mindedness, that we are happy, because we know that it's a consecrated place of Christian religion, it's a church, but would you be happy to give us some space where we can worship? And when you have, from both sides, when you have such mentality and such openness, such graciousness, the barriers become too small.
We shouldn't say there's a border, because we all worship God. And if you worship God, should not be a barrier between you and other religion. We have a great respect for the United Church, for being a big helpful. We said that we see ourselves as a friend of the church. Even so, what do you see and hear about people talk on TVs and terrorists and all that? They're all Western made. Islam means peace, doesn't mean fight.
When we try to understand one another, those misunderstandings vanish, and at least go, and we can start and we can talk. And when we talk with one another, then again many other misunderstandings that we have that go.
I can call the people of United Church who are watching this video as brothers and sisters in mankind. We love you, we respect you, and we expect you love us and like us the way we like you.
Ultimately, we belong to this city, we all live here, and we want to see it to be a very harmonious, peaceful, and a friendly community here in Parramatta.
We should be one hand united against criminal, poverty, homeless. We should look the way to make a better society for us. And if we have a better society, your kids and my kids will live peacefully in this society. We are all one, and we have to be all one and one for all.
The Lord be with you. Thank you so much, Peter. Again,
asking if there was a place where the Muslims could hold their Friday prayers. And my response was, well, here, because we're a place of prayer.
This has been a relationship evolving not just between individuals but between communities.
Praying in the same space, I think, adds life to what both communities are seeking.
The best way to make headway, when there's a lot of misunderstanding, is just to break bread. The ones that threatened to blow me up, I just passed it off to my friends at Federal Police. We get one or two of those. They're scary.
It's a fear that actually this change is going to take us somewhere outside of our comfort zone. But that change, if only it can be embraced, is taking us where our deepest desire wants us to be, and that is at one with all.
Learning to relax with the God that is with us and not feel as though we have to ram it down someone's throat. But it's usually tied up with our own sense of Christian maturity and how comfortable we are speaking naturally out of the spaces that God has formed in us, that the life of Jesus has a part of that, and being able to tell that with a simplicity and an unaffectedness. I think that's the thing that gives a certain integrity to the witness, and lets God do the work that God wants to do, rather than what the work is that we think we have to do for God.
So whether it's I'm working with people who are like, vulnerable women escaping domestic violence, I work with a lot of people who sometimes come with no faith. And then the first thing they say, and I can, something that someone said to me the other day, it feels like your caseworkers feel like they're angels. And I'm like, so you can relate that to caring, right? So there's association. So that in itself, you can see everybody has that faith inside their hearts. They may not associate it with a particular religion, but it's there. And I think we have a role, we have a responsibility as people of faith to ignite that flame in the heart of those people that want that backbone, want to be feeling that warmth, And it's not about being Muslim or Christian or Jew or Hindu or Sikh or whatever, whoever, It is about, I think for me, it's just about being who you are.
The thing that never ceases to amaze me is actually how similar we all are, how we all really want the same thing for the world, we want the same thing for our children, and we just have different paths to get there. And I don't think any path is right or wrong. It's right for those believers and for that community, but it doesn't negate the other's path. And I think that in the end, what unites us is far greater than what separates us. And I think the things that separate us are actually a source of richness and a source of incredible opportunity to actually learn about yourself.
If you look at the core values of the world religions that we have, they all talk about love, compassion, kindness. They all try to see that the human lives are bettered by our efforts, by our actions, by our words. And that's the deep thing in every religion. And we need to work out how we can bring those wonderful values from each religion, where we can really converge and do things together for the betterment of the humanity, betterment of the world. I think that's the way to move forward. By saying this, I really do not want to say that there aren't differences. Of course, there are certain differences. The way I worship people from another religion will worship differently. But that's why I said if we really go to the core values of those religions, there are too many things that really converge, they're same, and we still can work on those values to do things together to make this world a better, a safer, and peaceful world. The possibility is unfathomable.
In a moment, we're going to sing a hymn that was written by Jean Dick, who was a parishioner of mine in my congregation in Christchurch in New Zealand, a long time ago now. Jean wrote this hymn in the early 1990s, at a time when there was very little happening in the way of interfaith conversation. And she called us to the great God of every human heart. So on this day, let us give thanks for all the work that has been done by Interfaith in Sydney and for the people whose lives have been touched by it. Let us pray for new expressions of interfaith in worship and in working together in Sydney. And let us ask again, as the congregation of Pitt Street Uniting Church, where is the Spirit calling us now as we open to people of other faiths and other traditions in our city? Great God of every human heart. Amen.